Welcome to NFL Live Campsite. We're going camping. There's a tent over there, but in the middle of your screen, you see Aaron Rodgers at Steelers minicamp. That's where he's getting to know his new team this week. See him out there in the new jersey. Adam Schefter will tell you how it's all going in Pittsburgh. Plus, Peter Schrager gives you an update on how he thinks it's going to go in the future. Now, Trevor Lawrence is at Jags minicamp. His new offensive and defensive weapon is there in the full Travis Hunter. You'll hear from Lawrence a little later on in the show. And also, we stopped by Cowboys minicamp. You see Dak out there. Dak and company are ready to go. You're going to hear from him on how the receivers are doing and a little bit more on how this is actually great for CeeDee Lamb. Makes a lot of sense. We're so glad that you're with us. Oh, we are in a tent. Thank you for that. I'm glad that happened that way. I wonder what it would be like to go camping with you guys. Peter Schrager, Andrew Hawkins, Adam Schefter here for the hour. So much happening around the league, and you're in the right spot to hear about all of it with us today. Let's begin with the Bengals, you guys. That's where we go first. Star pass rusher Trey Hendrickson is not present for minicamp as he awaits a new deal in Cincinnati. And then Shedeur Stewart, who they drafted to bolster their D-line, had been there. He's now left in the midst of a contract dispute. More on that in moments. But first, Bengals head coach Zach Taylor was asked about Shedeur Stewart earlier today.
I think for all the rookies, you'd like them to be on the field, but certainly there's things that happen over the course of an NFL career, and this is one of them right now. So he's been in the meetings. He's been positive in that way. He's been learning. He's been a good learner, and we look forward to getting back on the field. There's education that happens with all the rookies that we do our best to educate them. Number one, we want to protect our team and our locker room, and so I understand when there's frustration there, but that's how he chose to do it, and that's his prerogative, and we look forward to getting back in the fold.
I know every head coach in the NFL has to talk about contract stuff, but I feel like Zach Taylor's had to do more of it than the other coaches. He's gotten really good at it. Adam, what more can you tell us about Shedeur Stewart's contract talks?
Well, this is an unusual situation. It should not be difficult to get a deal done with a rookie first-round draft pick, and yet in this particular case, for various reasons, it is. We start out with the fact that the Bengals are trying to get language that they haven't had in their contracts before that other teams have used that would void guarantees if essentially he got cut at some point during his career. Also, Shedeur Stewart has hesitated and refused to sign an injury waiver, which most rookies just go out and sign, that protects them in the event of injury at a minicamp. So he hasn't signed the waiver. They've asked for language that other teams have used that they haven't used before, and it's led to a situation where today Shedeur Stewart removed himself from mandatory minicamp when some would have wondered why he was even there to begin with, being that he hadn't signed his contract or signed the waiver. And so this whole situation has gotten more and more muddled as it has gone along and shows no signs of ending soon, despite the fact that it should be relatively simple to sign a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, to just add on to what Adam's saying, he's spot on. Look, they had a draft pick 18th overall and 28th overall the last 2 years. Those guys didn't have this language in their contract. That's the real point here. The other issue is, hey, if Jamar Chase doesn't have this language and he signed a deal, and T. Higgins doesn't have this language and he just signed a deal with you guys as recent as March, why should Shedeur have to sign that deal in June? Last but not least, Trey Hendrickson is still going and it's not there, and the Shedeur Stewart team is watching that closely. Hey, if you do figure out a new deal for Trey Hendrickson and you do include that language, well, we'll be open to sign with the new language, but why should Shedeur Stewart, and this is from the player side, why should he be the guinea pig in all this and be the first person in Bengals franchise history to have to sign this deal when there were deals done as recent as March with some mega stars?
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum, and I'm glad you illustrated all that, Peter. Hawk, let's talk about the way that Cincinnati's front office has prioritized contracts so far this offseason. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it puts a lot of pressure on the organization, and it is such a trickle-down effect. And not just the organization. Look, they made the decision to bring in Higgins and Chase on really big deals. They typically don't pay two wide receivers those amounts of money, but they're trying to keep their quarterback and Joe Burrow happy. So I do think for him, it puts a little pressure there as well, and that's where the trickle-down happens. Because they make that decision, it makes it a little tougher for the Trey Hendrickson situation, and then Shedeur Stewart, who they draft, which is a part of probably their insurance policy on Trey Hendrickson. Now that's muddy. So it will be interesting heading into the season because this is a distraction. It shouldn't be. And if it lingers in the training camp for Cincinnati, a smaller market, to have the national headlines be something like this permeate throughout the locker room, you hope that it doesn't have any hangover into when the real games start being played.
Yeah, some of the numbers you just saw on the screen there illustrated just how great that Bengals offense was. We know about that. It was a championship-level offense. The defense, though, however, certainly the priority or should be going forward. The Bengals allowed 35 points 5 times last season. You're not going to win games that way. All right, time now for some top stories. Adam Schefter, what's going on with T.J. Watt?
He is not at mandatory minicamp in Pittsburgh, despite the fact that Aaron Rodgers is. T.J. Watt is looking for a new contract. Mike Tomlin told reporters today that he's confident that something will get worked out because both sides want it to get worked out. It just has not gotten done yet, and until it does, Watt does not plan to show up there. He's skipping his mandatory minicamp to make a statement. The same is true in Washington with the Commanders' standout wide receiver Terry McLaurin, who's looking for a new deal in an offseason where Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, amongst others, have gotten paid. And McLaurin has produced with the best of them, had huge numbers, wants a big new deal. The two sides have not gotten close to getting that deal just yet. And the biggest deal of all that's expected to get done at some point this summer is from Micah Parsons, who is expected to become the highest paid defensive player in NFL history whenever that deal gets done, and both sides are working to make it happen. It should get done at some point this summer, and it will be a record-setting deal, and it will give the Dallas Cowboys the highest paid player in NFL history in Dak Prescott and the highest paid defensive player in NFL history in Micah Parsons.
You saw Jerry Jones talking to Micah Parsons out there at minicamp. I wonder what they were talking about. Let's go to Dallas now for Cowboys minicamp. Oh, look at the tent there. We've got the star on the tent. That's cute. Little campfire. Dak Prescott is there. He's healthy finally, as you see him right there on the field. This from today. Now with another star receiver across from CeeDee Lamb, the George Pickens edition with a new head coach, Brian Schottenheimer, figures to bolster this offense. Here's more from Dak on the receivers.
It's valuable CeeDee being here. I mean, it's hard to even put in comparison him being here, the work we're able to get versus last year versus him under the contract negotiations. But just to have him here, having him these practices, getting off to a good start, understanding each other, what we're trying to accomplish, has been monumental. And then obviously adding GP, something that's been monumental. And I've said it before, when you bring in guys like that, talented guys I've played with over the years, that you look at their resume and they're winning, I mean, that's credit to them. They make that process of me getting to know them that much easier. They know how to make good separation. They know how to win at the ball. For me, it's just about learning their bodies and just make sure communicating a few things for them.
Dak just spoke moments ago. Todd Archer, our Cowboys reporter, is out there at minicamp as well. Todd, what stood out to you about watching Dak and this Cowboys offense now with these new additions?
Yeah, Laura, a couple things really over the entire offseason. A lot more shifts, motions, things we hadn't seen from the Cowboys offense, and then speed. George Pickens talked about that on Tuesday. There's speed everywhere that can open up this scheme. Last year, the Cowboys had just 47 pass plays of 20 yards or more. Compare that to 2 years ago, and they had one of the best offenses in the league when they had 64 passes of 20 yards or more. But now remember, Prescott missed the final 9 games last year with that hamstring injury. He's been out there the entire time this off-season. Looks good. He and Brian Schottenheimer really look to be gelling on Wednesday. Dak had 5 touchdown passes in team and 7-on-7 drills. But let me get back to the receivers. At the end of this month with Dak, they'll go on their summer retreat that they've taken here lately. They'll work out, they'll run, they'll do everything together, get to know each other. And that takes on more importance this year because Lamb is around and Pickens is new. So by the time the Cowboys get to Oxnard for training camp, they expect to be fully on the same page 100%.
Yeah, it's a good point. CeeDee Lamb, of course, going through the contract stuff last year, so wasn't around as much with Dak. You heard Dak referencing that as well. Thanks so much to Todd Archer, the latest from Cowboys camp, which is wrapping up today. Now, we know the Cowboys struggled last season without Dak Prescott under center, but they weren't exactly thriving when he was healthy either. In the first 9 weeks before Dak's injury, the Cowboys still ranked in the bottom half of the NFL in scoring. They also ranked 22nd in yards per play, 24th in expected points added. They had 7 more turnovers than their opponents. Peter, I love what Todd just said about shifts and motions that they're seeing in this Cowboys offense. Hey, we've been begging for some of that creativity. When you look at this offense, how much improvement do you expect next season?
I also love to hear what Todd had to say about Dak having both of those receivers there in June. And then, of course, they'll have time together this offseason, and they'll hit the ground running come training camp. Look, the stuff that I look at is George Pickens and what he's available to do. And what he do? came early every single day to this minicamp, showed up, performed, and to hear Dak talk about it just minutes ago, saying, GP has been phenomenal. That's the term he said. Here's the quote from Dak. I'm just super excited that he's on our team. He's one of us, and he's our brother now. He's all about continuing to grow and making sure he's putting the best out there, and that's his approach. Remember, guys, 24 years old. He's had his reputation dragged through the mud. You heard about him being late for practices, late for games, and being a sore spot in that Steelers locker room. He can reverse that entire narrative, become a free agent, and hit the absolute jackpot if he is just